everyone. Welcome. I think this is the first episode we've started off saying hello to the audience.
I think so.
So we usually just start recording mid-conversation. I thought about starting off the podcast by going, Hassan Piker, I'm coming to kill you.
What episode is this?
This is going to be episode 40.
40,
the big 4-0.
The big 4-0.
The podcast is officially over the hill.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so it'll be dead soon.
It took us almost 104 weeks to get to 40 episodes.
Oh, wow. So was that 2 years, 52 weeks in a year? Yeah, close to it. Yeah. I think at one point I was like, you think we'll make 100 episodes this year? And you're like, no.
No.
Yes. Hello and welcome back, everybody. I'm sorry that we missed last week, but I went on a little vacation, a
little getaway
down to Panama City. We had a good time. I only had to go to the beach for about 30 minutes.
Oh, nice.
And the rest of the time I got to do what I wanted to do. So it was good.
Which was not be at the beach.
Literally anything other than be at the beach. But no, we had a good time. Mary got attacked by a pelican. That was interesting.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's what cut the beach trip short.
Well, no, she, I think that was the first day we were there. Me and Aaron, well, I think we were down there for 25 minutes, and then we were both we're leaving.
Yeah.
We've had all the time we can stand on the beach. And, of course, Mary and Emily are women, so they're like, well, we can be here all day. Yeah. And so we left them there all day. Goodbye. And while we were gone, they had a pelican landed in the water and then just kind of washed ashore. Yeah. And then was stumbling around the beach, something was up with it. Yeah. And then it walked right over to them and it snapped at her.
Whoa.
And Mary got this picture of it pretty close, from here to the piano. Yeah. And I didn't know this, but they have a little fang on the end of their
Really?
On the end of their beaks, yeah. A little hook-looking hook thing. I guess to hook fish with.
I guess so.
But they, Panama City's got their own version of SeaWorld down there called Gulf World.
Oh, yeah.
And they were
it's seaweed and cigarette butts.
They called somebody that was down there with them called Gulf World and were like, hey, there's a pelican out here. Yeah. And they're like, well, we'll come get it if y'all catch it. And so they were like, well, what are we supposed to do? Yeah. They're like, throw a towel around it. And then they were like, oh, by the way, it's probably got mites, but those won't hurt you. So I don't think anybody bothered to catch the pelican.
Nah, fuck that pelican.
Okay, man, his mites. I've always heard that about birds, though. Birds are just riddled with disease and parasites. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I've always heard that.
Yeah, I'm not interested in finding out firsthand, though.
No, I'm not going to conduct an experiment.
If there's any bird scientists out there,
yeah, on the off chance there's a bird scientist listening to the Thicc Bois podcast, the fact that we called it a bird scientist probably means that there isn't.
Yeah, would you be in?
So ornithologist.
An ornithologist?
Yeah.
I was going to say an aviologist.
An aviologist.
Yeah. An avian.
Sometimes I feel like I can guess what those words would be. Yeah. I would assume we had this conversation recently. A person who studies fish. Yeah. It's an ichthyologist. Yeah. But I've never heard anything in reference to
I wonder
fish.
Where they got that from.
I would have thought maybe pescatologist or something. Because I'm thinking pescatarian and whatever, or Pisces and all those things mean fish. Yeah. But all of those ologists and ologies don't really, the prefix doesn't really make sense to me.
You have geology, which that's a type of math. But then you have a geologist who studies rocks.
Yeah. And geography, which is maps.
It's the study of maps.
The study of maps. Already made maps. It's just some dude
Interesting. I'm a map scientist.
Here's a check from the university for $50,000. I just stared at a map of Tucson and got my tenure.
I saw, speaking of universities, I saw where the other day, I guess it's like the University of Texas at Austin has a class where they're studying Taylor Swift lyrics this year.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean study? What is there to study?
I don't know.
Bad blood. Bad. Jesus Christ. I mean, that sounds to me like they had some money that they needed to spend.
Or some money they needed to make.
or that. Something in the head like a budget, what they call a surplus.
I just imagine there's like a bunch of like old farts sitting around a table. And they're like
a Harvard University like alum.
Yeah. Like, what are these mushroom top Gen Z kids into?
Taylor Swift.
So it's like Taylor Swift.
That's like 2 generations ago.
They're like, I bet we can milk some money out of these idiots. And like, hey, you want to take a Taylor Swift class?
These fucking morons. This is like 18-year-olds say, yeah, we'll give you an $80,000 loan. No biggie. It's like, oh, we had like, we got 40, 50-year-old people who can't take out loans for $10,000.
No.
But you give a kid $80,000 at 18% interest.
Yeah, to go study like underwater basket weaving.
To go study Taylor Swift lyrics.
Yeah, Taylor Swift lyrics.
It's a fucking Ponzi scheme. Speaking of student loans, we could touch on the student loan forgiveness thing that Biden rolled out.
Yeah. As the president, does he even have like the power to do that? I thought that would have to go through Congress.
I
don't think that
was it an act?
I don't think that he can just like write like an executive order and be like 10,000 gone like off the top.
I really don't know where that power ends because I think I think that the president can make an executive order, but I think it can be like butted by the other branches. The what is it? The judicial and the executive, judicial, and legislative. Yeah, whichever the other two are that's supposed to keep him in check. I think they can. Like if the president overreached or whatever, they could be like, "Hey, stop! Don't do that. No, no go." But I think like Donald Trump, like in his first few days of office, signed like what 14 or 20 or something. Yeah,
it was some
like that.
asinine amount. To be honest with you, I don't think there should probably be like executive orders. I think that's probably a bad idea.
That's insane. It's one person.
Yeah, I mean that's what like monarchs do. That's what like kings and queens do. I thought we were like trying not to do that.
It's crazy.
I thought that like the whole point of like this experiment that we were doing here in America is not to do that thing that we just did.
Not to be ruled by one person.
Exactly.
I can't imagine, just being in the room with Donald Trump and he's got like a stack of 20 executive orders, decisions that the big man himself made, and you're just like, I got to sit here and listen to these.
You're like, ugh. What would it be worse to like sit there and like listen to Donald Trump be like, "This is the best executive order," and like
listen to him like suck his own dick,
or would it be better to like have just like listen to Biden and be like,
it's like
rambling on.
He's like drawing on the desk. Some assistant's got to like slide the paper under the pen for him. That dude's insane.
The crazy part.
Who's the president right now?
It's not him.
It's not him.
It's not him. There's no way. There's no fucking way. He's not there.
Oh my god.
He has dementia.
He's got something.
He has dementia.
He's got something for sure.
Well, the dude's in his 80s. I mean, how many 80-year-olds do you know that are walking around like coherent,
like fit enough to be the president?
Yeah, fit enough to be the president.
Like none?
None of them.
Yeah. I mean, I know like maybe 2 people that are over 80. I wouldn't want either of them running the country.
No.
And it's got nothing to do with political beliefs.
No.
It's got everything to do with their mental well-being.
Their mental well-being and their physical health.
I don't think the human brain was meant to last 80 years.
No.
It just starts falling apart.
Yeah.
It starts like turning on itself.
Well, I mean, I just remember even him like when he was running for president, like some of like the like the campaign speeches that he was giving. Like, you remember the one where he was like rambling on about kids touching his leg hair at the pool?
Yes, for a long time.
Yeah.
He went on for a long time about that.
Yeah. And everybody in the crowd was just kind of looking around.
Yeah. He's like, they used to touch my legs in the pool and watch the hair go up and come back down, and I have long blonde hair on my legs. And aren't you gonna be the president?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Your leg hairs?
What the fuck are you talking about?
What are you talking about, Joe?
Yeah. It's like, well, it's like you can either choose between that or this dude over here that's giving out self-fellatio. Like,
it really was a giant douche in a turd sandwich. I mean, South Park nailed it. You know, that's always been the reductive statement made about the presidential race is, you know, it's the lesser of two evils. But between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, it was like, you know, do you want?
It's turned into a fucking sideshow.
Yeah, I was like, it's two different versions of insanity. It was like, do you want incompetence mixed with arrogance?
Yeah.
Or do you want incompetence mixed with just confusion?
Yeah.
It's like, could you imagine, like, you know, think about those movies like Independence Day, like where the president like hopped in he got in a fucking fighter jet. Was it him? Was it the president?
Yeah, it was the president. Got in the fighter jet.
Could you think of Donald Trump sitting in a fighter jet, like flying towards an alien spaceship? Or fucking Joe Biden, for that matter?
Oh God. I had to see him like take off. He'd like crash into the White House.
Like just immediately. Oh my God.
And I'm totally of the belief that one if not the only reason that Donald Trump won the 2016 election is because Hillary is so fucking unlikable.
Yeah.
Like the most
I think it was a big part of it.
Yeah, the most unlikable person in fucking history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you remember when she posted that thing on Twitter? It was like, "Happy birthday to this future president." As a picture of her when she was a kid.
Yeah? She did that?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like before the election, and she lost.
And she released a book called "What Happened."
Yeah. She should have like, instead of like saying like "what happened," period, it should have been "what happened?" ?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, the Clintons are such an institution with like American politics.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's that whole thing about, you know, people don't believe that Joe Biden won the presidential election. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have 100% faith in this anymore.
No.
I really don't. Because I think the entire state of Pennsylvania voted for him, like, overnight.
No.
Okay. I don't buy that.
No. Well, I mean, there's been talks of election fraud since I was a kid.
Right.
It's nothing new.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, think back on, like, you know, Donald Trump. I think actually Hillary won the popular vote.
She did.
But you think about the Donald Trump and Hillary thing, and it was like, you know, you have Donald Trump who is just, you know, burning every bridge, just spitting in everyone's face, peeing in everyone's cereal, and he wins.
Yeah, he was the meme candidate.
Yeah,
he was memed his way into presidency. That's what he did.
So it's the fact that he beat like this just deeply rooted like the Clinton Foundation.
He made a mockery of like U.S. politics.
Like a lasting impression that I don't know if we'll ever recover from. Because I have to think that, like, had Hillary won, like, it wouldn't be...
It would have been, like, status quo, like, back to the same old.
They'd be like, you remember that time Donald Trump was, like, that was crazy. He was, you know, could you imagine if he would have won?
Yeah.
But now it's like Donald Trump was president.
Yeah, and then heads fucking exploded.
And then it was fucking... What the hell do we do now?
Essentially all he did was he just dunked on people, like, his entire campaign trail. That's all he did.
Yeah.
I don't think he would, like, all he did was, I'm gonna build a wall. I'm gonna make Mexico pay for it.
Yeah.
Fuck them. And then everybody's like, woo!
Yeah.
And then he was like making fun of all the other candidates. He's like, you're real low energy.
Yeah, low energy. Well, you say that to
Jeb Bush.
Jeb Bush. Oh my God. Look, Donald Trump should have never been president.
No, but he's fucking funny.
He's fucking hilarious. Because he's hilarious because it's just such a spectacle. Just watched him. One of the funniest things he did, I think, was for Cinco de Mayo when he said that the Trump Tower makes the best taco bowls or taco salads or something like that. It's just this fucking video of him sitting there, like, with a taco salad in front of him, and he's got, like, a fork in his hand, and the thing hasn't been touched. And you know as well as I do that once I stopped recording, he threw that shit off the desk, and then he ate his 12 Big Macs and his 10 fish fillets, whatever it was he ate.
Did you ever see when they were, like, showing his diet?
It's unbelievable.
He drinks, like, 15 Diet Cokes a day. And then, he eats, like, a bunch of Domino's pizza, and he, like...
Domino's pizza and McDonald's.
Yeah, it's like, he eats like he's, like, a 12-year-old.
Yeah, but he's 70-something.
Yeah, he eats like a 12-year-old that has a bunch of money.
Yeah.
That's how he eats.
Well, he kind of behaves like a 12-year-old with a bunch of money.
A 12-year-old, like, this is fine dining.
Yeah. He's like the amalgamation of, like, everybody on the COD 2 lobbies. Like, they all did the fusion dance and became Donald Trump. I love...
Well, I just can't figure out whether or not it was it that everybody was so tired of, like, the institution of American politics that they voted for him? Like, he was just, like, this avatar of, like, all this...
like the people,
like, being tired of it.
I think that had a lot to do with it.
And they were like, we don't care, like, how absurd this person is.
How obscene it is. And how terrible it actually gets. We just don't want these career politicians. So I'm voting for Donald fucking Trump.
Yeah, the you're fired guy.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they thought it would be like another Ronald Reagan. Because he was an actor.
Yeah.
Or, he was in entertainment, and then he became president.
Yeah.
But, look at like a Reagan speech and compare that to a Trump speech.
Right.
It is not the same thing.
Well, and somebody made a pretty good point one time. They, like, had, like, one of the Trump speeches, and he doesn't use big words. Like, he won't use, like, very large words. His vocabulary is very limited, and the vocabulary that he uses in the speeches is very limited. But he repeats stuff a lot. Yeah. And to kind of like punch it home.
Yeah.
And like that's how he gets people riled up.
But because it's probably how he conducts business.
Right.
So he probably just took all that experience into the presidency.
Right.
Which, I don't 100% think that it's, across the board the same thing.
No.
And like, international economics, excuse me.
Economics.
Whoops. International economics or, global economics is a lot different than like, just our economy, the way it operates.
Correct. But additionally, too, I think it should be important that if you are running for office, the economy relies so heavily upon the government, like, essentially knowing what to do and how to push forward, like, the GDP and everything, that it should be important that people have business experience, like leading business or being an entrepreneur or something like that. That way you kind of get an idea. Like, it's fine to, like, go and get, like, an economics degree so you understand the theory of it. Yeah. But you have no practical real-world experience with economics.
Yeah, it's theory versus application.
Right.
I think that Donald Trump would have best served the country if he would have had a position, like, on the cabinet or something.
Right. But there's no fucking way. He'd have been one up to by fucking anyone.
No, he wasn't about to take orders.
No.
I mean, you're talking about the dude who has, like, the biggest inflated ego ever.
Oh, yeah.
When he won the presidency, it probably wasn't even, like, a moment of, like, oh, my God, I'm the president. It was just like, of course I'm the president.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking else? Crooked Hillary over here. I'll occasionally go back and watch videos of, like, the shit he was doing on the campaign trail. Like, insulting people. It was so funny because, like, nobody was like...
They didn't know what to do.
He didn't belong in their world.
They didn't know what to do with him.
The GOP was like, no, we're not backing this asshole. Yeah. He was like, I don't fucking need you. I love, I think I'd mentioned it before one of our earlier episodes. He went to that big dinner that they all have, the Days, I think it is.
Yeah.
Like with the religious leaders or whatever. Mm-hmm. And him and Hillary were both there. And it's a very, 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 very dignified, opulent, very to-do. It's like, you got to eat with the right forks, but all that is eat with the right fork like times a billion. It's like that much more pompous. Yeah. And he got up there on that fucking mic.
Oh, good.
And you can kind of see it on everybody's faces. Like we kind of have seen what this dude is. Yeah. Like, where is this gonna go? And he starts making these very lighthearted jokes. Yeah. At the evening and like the state of the world and everything. Everybody was kind of like, oh, okay, maybe he's calmed down. And then like out of nowhere, he's like, Hillary Clinton is so crooked. And then, like, you get to see like everybody sitting next to him is just like, oh my god. He was like, you should be in fucking jail.
I will never forget when they were doing the debate, and I don't remember what the question was, and it's like something or another, and he goes, yeah, because you'd be in prison.
Yeah, she was talking about emails or something like that. He was like, because you'd be in prison. He debated like a 10-year-old. Like,
I just remember he said that and everyone went,
yeah, whoa!
Oh, God.
He was fun. It was fun to watch him work. Because he just like, during his presidency...
everything's on fire, but
Yeah, everything was on fire. It was like, our Donald Trump's the goddamn president, and then like the people that were like fighting against it, like on the other side of the aisle against him, were like, I've never seen such vitriol.
Well, it's like
from that side.
Vitriol, not only that, but like an inability to like reason.
Yeah.
An inability to like it's like, I can get down with like some like the critiques that they had of him.
Oh yeah.
But like, I agree with that, but you're acting so acinined right now.
Yeah, the way that they were acting, yeah.
But like, I can't associate with you.
Yeah. Like, it's like I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
It's like you're in the middle of the street naked throwing shit at people.
Yeah. I can't associate with that. Do you understand? Like, I have a family. I had mentioned before, when Obama, when he won the first time, even on the campaign trail with him and McCain, at one of McCain's rallies, he was doing like a Q&A or something like that, and one of his or somebody in the crowd was like, "I'm worried about Obama becoming president because he's a terrorist Muslim." And McCain was like, and shut up! Like, what the hell are you talking about? He was like, I've worked with Obama before. He's a good man, and he's like, if he wins the presidency, he'll be good for the job. Yeah. He's like, he's not evil, you know. And it was like, and then his concession speech, like when he conceded defeat to Obama, was very dignified, and he accepted the loss graciously. No, and it was like, we'll never see that,
especially
ever again.
When he said that shit about McCain, and when he was like. He's like, I like my war heroes that don't get captured.
Holy fuck.
It was like nobody was safe.
No one.
No one was safe.
Donald Trump was the nuclear option.
Yeah.
He was. I think he was an overcorrection. For it. They say that the pendulum swings, right? It doesn't stay in one corner for too long. I honestly believe that had Obama not won the second presidency,
was that Romney? Romney he ran against?
Yeah, Romney.
Yeah, Romney.
I don't think that Donald Trump would have ever happened. I think 8 years of Obama. Here's the thing: 8 years of Obama coupled with the ignorance of
there was a lot that happened underneath Obama's presidency. Like you had the crash in '08, and that hurt a lot of people.
Yes,
that hurt a lot of people, and a lot of people were still recovering from that by the time Trump started running.
Yeah,
and then not only that, but there was also that dinner that Trump went to, and you remember Trump was like a big proponent of Obama not having been born in the United States, right?
He talked a lot of shit about it.
Right, he talked a lot of shit about it. And there was some dinner that they were at, and Obama cracked a joke while Trump was sitting there. He's like, well, there's one thing I'll be that you'll never be, and that's president.
Yeah.
And lo and behold. Yeah. Look what happened.
We got Donald Trump as president.
It's like, and
thanks, Obama.
And it might not have even been that Trump really believed half the shit that he was saying. He's like, if I get these fucks riled up enough, he's like, I can get them to do anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, and fuck Obama for telling me I'll never be president.
Maybe if Obama hadn't said that, it would have been the catalyst to set all that in motion. Well, you know that they've been investigating the January 6th Capitol thing, which, it was a bad look.
Yeah.
It was a bad look for the American people. It was a bad look.
It had been a bad look for 2 years before that, which, it was like you had all the riots on the left, then you have the riots on the right. So, we all look like jackasses.
Yeah. Thanks. Good job, everyone. Yeah. Well, I had said, it was, all those people that were shitting all over, the BLM riots and...
Right. And then you go out and do the same fucking thing.
Yeah, they were saying I would never do that. I had work in the morning.
Yeah.
And
there you are.
And then there you are at the fucking nation's capital.
No.
Kicking indoors.
Acting like a fucking asshole.
Acting like a bunch of fucking chimps. What the hell's wrong with you? I don't know. There was a lot going on there. I believe there's a lot going on behind closed doors, and I don't really know who's working with who or who's working against who.
No.
But they've got the American people so divided.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, it's amazing to me that they've got them so divided, and there's no attempt to try to be
to bridge that gap
to bridge the gap. It you would think that especially too because now the Republican Party's split.
Yeah.
Because it's you have the MAGA people, and then you have the old school Republican people, and they want nothing to do with one another, right?
Yeah.
So now there's this division
between them.
So I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
I don't know. It's
been fun for 250 years, but I think we're done.
Yes, it might be it. Time to pack up and go home. I just don't understand, I don't understand why people make their political stance their entire being.
Entire personality,
that's
who
all
they
that
are.
they are.
You don't like anything else? That's all you think about all the time?
Yeah, of course it's important to have, political beliefs, strong political beliefs.
Right.
But, it's equally as important to question those beliefs. And
well, I think people are just so, inundated with, political ideology all the time now. That's kind of all that's, pushed on you.
Yeah.
You have, the older generations that are still watching, Fox News and CNN.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets pushed on them all the time.
Yeah.
And then you get on YouTube or something, and it's and then you have people Hassan Biker!
I'm coming to kill you in Los Angeles at your house.
But then you have people YouTube commentators or whatever, and they do the whole political deal. Mm-hmm. And they're fairly popular on YouTube. And YouTube's a very large platform.
Yeah.
So it's now you have people that are using new media that are getting political views pushed on them all the time as well.
There's a lot of value placed on being political.
Right.
Not necessarily being political one way or the other, but just being political.
Right.
If you are super duper, 100% focused on leftist politics, then that gives you a lot of value with that group, and then the same for the other side.
Right.
But I'm looking at this thing we have got to work together. At some point, we're going to have to come together.
Well, it's just kind of amazing to me. Like, you can see, like, the super, like, say you have, like, the two different sides, right? Like, you have this, like, the super leftist side, which is, like, you know, bordering on, like, communism, and then they all, like, they're very concerned with, like, gender ideology and, like, racism and all that stuff, and, like, intersectionality. And then you go over here, like, way on the right.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, they're like
telling you what religion you can be, what books you can read.
Exactly, what books you can read. It's like you can't use contraception and like all this wacky shit.
That's insane to me. That is insane to me. Why can't I wear a condom?
Yeah, right. it's like, and so there's nowhere in the middle. And the crazy part about it is, and I don't know when this happened with the left, is like all the people that are like standing here in the middle, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
The left is like, you're a far right extremist, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's because you're so far left that me being in the middle looks like I'm all the way on the right.
Right, and then
it's the same thing.
And then
for
you
the
have all
other
the
side.
far right extremists are like, take that condom off.
You fucking liberal. What you do wearing that condom, boy? Get married and make a baby. I don't want to. I don't know. Well, hell, I mean, this is the 21st anniversary of September 11th. Today is.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember the, you know, I don't want to go too far into 9/11. I think we did once before, but I can remember the kind of feeling that the whole nation had after that happened. Like, yeah, I was very young at the time, but even then I remembered, like, there was so much, like, patriotism.
No.
And it shouldn't take an event like 9/11 for us to say, you know, we're all Americans, we're in this together.
Right. It's gotten to the point now with, like, what they call, like, nationalism, which, like, if you... Well, on the far left, like, they've done this thing where, like, if you celebrate, like, American values and, like, if you celebrate being American, then like then you're racist. It's like I don't understand how it is that they've kind of like lumped those two things together. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they talk about like an institutionalized racism and
right.
You know, which I'm sure that is an issue in a lot of places, but I don't think it's as prevalent as they're making it out to seem.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm just saying that because I'm a white guy and I've never really, I've only ever benefited from being white. I'll admit that. No. But at the same time, it's, I've never seen anybody fail to do anything because of their race.
Right.
I've only ever seen people fail to do things because of their merit.
Like their work ethic.
Yeah.
Right.
That goes for any race of person.
Right. I've seen people fail at stuff because they're fucking stupid.
Well, yeah.
They don't have the mental horsepower.
Mental horsepower. And then those people will typically blame it on racism. Right. I think because that's an easy thing to point a finger at.
Right.
It's much easier to point a finger.
I've seen white people do the same thing.
Oh, yeah,
they'll
absolutely.
Go, well, I didn't get that because, I'm white and,
they got to hire 10 black people every quarter.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Like, no, it's because you couldn't pass a drug test.
Right.
I
mean, I think for the most part, nobody's really doing that. I think on the fringes, people are doing that. Yeah. Like, obviously, like in universities and stuff, it's an issue.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like they're like, well, we're not going to hire somebody that believes in these values because that's not the values that we're trying to espouse in the next generation of like thinkers and everything.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's a gap there.
Yeah.
Right. And then obviously, like in like religious sectors and everything, it's like obviously they're not going to have somebody with blue hair and a septum ring, like come in and be like a youth pastor.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. Right. So, and then like in the middle, it's like in my everyday life, like everybody's kind. Everybody tries to get along. It's like, hey man, like I got a family. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I'm just trying to survive.
I'm trying to survive through whatever the fuck is going on here.
I think most people are way more centrist than they think they are.
Right.
I think that if you pluck somebody outside of their echo chamber and you start asking them questions,
right,
more often than not, you're going to get some very centrist answers.
Right.
But when they're among their peers,
their group,
that group think,
right,
that they all think they have to think,
yeah,
then, it's just a fucking echo chamber.
Right.
And you start hearing the same thing out of 20 different people.
Right.
But if you separate those 20 different people, you hear 80 different ideas.
Correct. Well, it's even like, I know, just having grown up in the church and everything, it's like the way that people act outside of the church as opposed to the way that they act in the church. Mm-hmm. Like, they're two different people.
Yeah.
Right?
It's amazing what your environment will do to you.
Correct.
Anybody who's ever been a server and has had to serve the Sunday after church crowd knows those are the worst fucking people on the planet. They are awful. Terrible human beings.
And people that are late night on Saturdays around 1 o'clock in the morning. They're the worst.
Well,
I worked at a bar, so they weren't really coming into where I was working.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I worked at,
I'm sure, like, if you worked at, like, Cracker Barrel.
Oh, God. I worked at a fucking Mexican restaurant, and they would come in there and just, want to talk about people who were rude and yelled and, like, were horrible to their kids.
Yeah.
And it was like, I know you fucking people just left church where you all...
you're wearing a polo and khakis and dress shoes. Like, you just came from church.
Y'all thanked God for being here, and then you're going to turn around and make everybody else's life hell.
Right.
Like, it really doesn't make me want to come to your church.
No.
Just saying.
Well, it's... I've always struggled with that. Like, growing up in the church was always like the way that people acted inside the church is like I see you outside of the church, so I know that you don't act this way. Mm-hmm. It's like, but when we come here, you act a certain way because that's what's socially acceptable. And I just remember growing up in the church, like, I refuse to do that. I will not do it. Yeah. It's like, I will not. The person that I am is the person I am.
Yeah.
It's like, and if you don't like that, well, that's too bad. It's like, I'll try to, like, be a better person.
Yeah. Right? I think that's a very solid mindset to have. But at the same time, like, if you're being a fucking cock, you got to understand that.
Right.
Like, I am who I am. If you don't like it, that works most of the time. But if you're being a dick,
right,
quit being a dick.
Right. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be, like, self-improvement, like, try to be a better person, right?
No, I get you.
That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that if you're putting on this facade when you go to the church and then you leave the church and you're a totally different person, it's because it's like, well, I don't have to be in that place no more.
Yeah. I was godly for 1 hour this week.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Fuck these kids.
Filled up my Jesus meter.
Yeah.
I'm all good to go.
I don't know. And it might be just that maybe people, and I've also often wondered too, just because we live in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in the Deep South, that a lot of it is Southern Baptist, right?
I mean, that's all we were exposed to.
We grew up Southern Baptist, right? So I'm like, but the few interactions that I've had with people, say, like, Catholic people, like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've gone to a Catholic Mass, multiple Catholic Masses before. I like going to Catholic Mass.
It's a very spiritual, a lot of pomp and circumstance. Yeah.
Right. Like, it's very, like, regimented. Mm-hmm. Like, we do this now. Yeah. Like, here's how we're going to do this. Like, all of the parishes have the exact same sermon. Mm-hmm. And not that, I'm not saying, like, the Catholic Church is without.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if you're trying to create, like, a community, it seems like to me just the interactions that I've had between the two is that the Catholics don't seem so concerned with everyone else.
Yeah.
They seem more concerned with, like, what's going on with them.
Within their group.
Right. Yeah. It's like they're more concerned with their own self-guilt.
Yeah.
And I guess I feel more attached to that.
Yeah.
Than I do,
it's a lot more introspective than Southern Baptist, which is very finger-pointy.
Right.
The pastor gets up there and he points his finger at you.
Right.
Everybody in the crowd, you, and then you leave there and you start pointing fingers at the servers at the Mexican restaurant. So, it's like that thing, like that comic strip of, like, the boss yelling at the employee, and the employee yells at his wife, the wife yells at the child, and the child kicks the dog. Shit just flows downhill.
At least that's how I've seen it.
Yeah.
Since, like, growing up and everything.
And I've been to several, contemporary Christian churches, and when it comes to like the sermons, I much prefer those over like a traditional Southern Baptist sermon.
Right.
Mainly because I kind of feel like it's more in line with like the way I feel about my Christianity.
No.
Where at the end of the day, I think you need to the goal is to be Christ-like, right?
Right.
And Jesus isn't going around calling people,
you know,
or the N-word,
right,
or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm going to have to bleep out. I don't know why I said
I got to bleep it out
twice. But you get what I'm saying,
right?
It's it was a lot more. Contemporary sermons like that are a lot more introspective and self-reflective than the fire and brimstone that we grew up with. And I feel like me personally, I don't like to be attacked.
No, it makes me really angry.
It makes
when people,
me angry, and I tend to not listen to what you're saying.
Right.
So and I kind of feel like a lot of people probably feel that way.
Right. Yeah, it's we've been to like some contemporary like churches and stuff like that, and the sermons you are usually better than what you find at like a Southern Baptist type deal. Really, my main gripe with like contemporary churches is like they always like have to put on like a rock show like before before the sermon.
It's so stupid,
and I can't stand it.
I can't stand Christian rock.
Like I specifically remember there was one that we were going to. We would show up 20 minutes late so that we wouldn't have to listen to the music. Maybe Allison liked it, but I was like, I'm not going in.
Yeah, like, I don't want to.
Yeah,
it's so dumb. And you people play the same songs.
Right.
It's like we're talking about the dude that created the universe here.
Right.
But he's got like more than 6 songs.
Right. And then everybody's like in there like wearing jeans and a t-shirt and got their hands up in the air.
Yeah.
And it's like, and especially too, like when people start, even since like a kid, I don't know what it's been, but like having like multiple people like stand up in church, like when the song's going on, I'm like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah,
like,
why
I'm
do I gotta stand?
I'm not standing up.
Why
Like, you're not
gonna
going to make me do this.
Yeah.
It's like when everybody's like, it's like, if I don't feel moved to do that, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to stand up and fake it.
I'm not going to fake it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, play better music. Then I'll stand up.
Yeah. It's like you and your fucking leather bracelets up there, and your spiky hair, and your flannel shirt.
You sit down and have a powwow.
Yeah. playing your acoustic guitar.
But I would honestly rather hear that than like hymns.
Really, I'm the opposite of that.
A hymn would put me to sleep.
I like hymns.
They put me to sleep.
I guess because when I'm a couple years older than you, like growing up in the church, like we did a lot of hymns or whatever. So I don't know, maybe if that's my nostalgia kicking up.
Yeah.
Because that's when they do that at, they don't have like a choir or anything at the Catholic Mass.
Yeah.
Like everybody, there's like, here, you sing this.
Yeah. And they do a lot of like what they call call and respond too.
Yeah.
Where like they'll sing to the crowd and then the crowd will sing back.
Yeah. They sing like this and then you sing like this.
God is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Don't be gay.
I touch little children. Oops.
Oops. Did I say that out loud? Look, you can teach your religion, just quit fucking kids.
Yeah.
Okay? I feel like that's fair.
Yeah. Well, and I think I get it. I mean, I get where like a lot of like agnostic and like atheist people are like, you see the human side of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, I get it. I understand why
I totally understand.
I understand why you feel the way that you feel.
Yeah.
Because I fought that for a real long time.
Logically, it makes sense to feel that way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, but I think the most important thing, especially with church, not necessarily with faith, with church is it provides a community where like you can go and be around like-minded individuals, right?
Yeah.
And then as far as like your faith is concerned,
your faith is something that only you can cultivate
right?
within yourself.
That's something that you have to be in charge of.
Yeah. You can't just go there and suddenly be a person of faith.
Right.
It's like that old, thing that was like, going to church doesn't make me any more a Christian than standing in my garage makes me a car.
Right.
It's like you got to put in the legwork and the footwork to cultivate your faith.
Right.
And that is, like I've said before, I struggle with my own faith just because it butts heads with like the logical side of me.
Right.
Especially when you start considering things like what happens after you die.
Right.
Like I understand that like the reality we live in is very, very physical and measurable.
Right.
And you can quantify everything. So it's hard for me to think, that this non-corporeal part of me is going to live on after I die. Like a huge part of me is like, most likely what happens when you die is nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's exactly what happened before you were born.
Right.
Just
there's nothing.
There's nothing, but you're not aware that there's nothing.
Right.
They're just cease.
Right. And that usually gives me a panic attack.
Well, I mean, it's a very existential thing, but it's like, if you think about, and I've mentioned that before to people, and usually the response I get is like, oh, well, well, what does that mean for how you live your life? I was like, well, that doesn't mean, I'm a nihilist. I'm going to start being an asshole to everybody.
Right.
I was like, if the truth of the matter is that after I die, it's just oblivion. There's nothing at all. I was like, well, then that makes like the moments that I have here
more important
in the waking world and reality.
Right.
The fact that I get to experience this world.
Right. It's more important.
Is that much more important?
Right.
I was like, what I do here, matters to the people that I care about, the people that I love. I was like, but once I'm dead, I'm just fucking dead. I'm just fucking meat laying on the ground.
Right.
Like that's all that is.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about like the vastness of the universe and sort of like what is to come, the sun self-imploding on itself and sucking everything into a black hole. Mm-hmm. The fact that Andromeda and the Milky Way are going to collide with one another.
I mean, the universe is expanding, and it'll eventually get to the point where everything's away from everything by such a degree that there's nothing at all. I mean, it's not something that humanity is ever going to experience,
right?
Because we're going to die out long before any of that happens. When you think about logically what it all is, what all this is just this cosmic event that happened.
Yeah.
And we're just here. That's probably the most likely thing.
Yeah.
I love the idea that there's aliens out there. I like that idea.
No.
I like to think that they're out there and they're building these mega structures and these Dyson spheres and teleporters and things like that. But why haven't we seen any of it?
Right. Well, and getting back around to like religion, it's like, but the logical side of you is like, well, this is how you put the bicycle together.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you what to do with it once you're done with it.
You're right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Most religions, if not all of them, really provide a good foundation for your morality.
Right.
As far as the way you should, kind of the way you should live your life and the way you should treat people. I mean, talking about like on the most basic level, like don't kill people. Don't be envious.
Yeah, love one another.
Love one another. I mean, all that stuff is like, yeah, of course.
No.
But if that stuff was, yeah, of course, why aren't we living in a paradise here on Earth?
Right. Because you can't.
Because you can't. We're all humans.
Yeah. Well, you're attached to this biological meat sack that has all these biological urges to kill and have sex and eat and do all these things that it has to do.
Yeah.
It's so
you're fighting a battle. All the time.
Constantly.
It never stops.
Right.
And I was reading this thing the other day that was talking about pain, like physical pain.
No.
And it was like, they were talking to people who were dying, and they were like, monitoring their brain activity and things like that. And there's like this state of being that the brain goes into right before somebody passes, where it is comparable to not LSD, but being on some kind of drug that
is a DMT trip.
Well, yeah, it's you're completely at peace.
Right.
And I'm like, there's a lot of people out there who probably burned to death and like fell off a cliff and who died in panic. But for the most part, it's very peaceful when they drift away.
Right.
And it was like the only time you'll ever experience no pain is when you're dead. I mean, you think about it, like you're sitting on the couch. You're not like, you're like, sitting on the couch. but like, you're like, your back kind of hurts a little bit. And like, just every time, from the moment you're conscious, you're hurting in some way.
Right.
And it was like
emotional, physical.
There's something wrong all the time.
Right.
Even if it's down to the most minute little, like my toe hurts.
Right.
There's something going on.
Right.
But it was like, death is the only release from that. And it was like, so as far as like being fearful of death, it was like most people, they fear death either from uncertainty because they don't know what comes after because they've heard a billion different things their whole fucking life. You're surrounded by people who are telling you, oh, you're going to burn forever in a lake of lava because you sucked a cock and when you have a cock. Right. And you weren't supposed to do that, so sorry. It was like, well, fuck, I mean, But it was like also people, they're afraid they're going to miss out.
Right.
They have regrets. They didn't do this. They didn't get a chance to do that. But in those moments, right before it's over with, they're completely at peace. And in that moment, they're probably not regretting anything.
No.
They're not hurting anything. They're as at peace as they could ever be at the very end of their life. So it was like that settles me down a lot to know that, at the end of everything, when it's just me and I'm laying there on my deathbed, I'm surrounded by my family, if that's how it happens to go, that I will most likely know peace.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, like boiling in acid. Like somebody has, I'm sure.
Be like the dude in Pompeii that was jerking off.
What a hero. No, I don't want to go out like that guy. I want to go out like the Queen of England recently. You're surrounded by her family and her castle.
Yeah.
In Edinburgh, wherever, Worcestershire, wherever that was.
Surrounded by all of her pedophilic children.
Oh. What a bunch of fucking winners. Did you see the new King of England? He was like going to sit down at some desk or something, like sign some papers, and he was like, there was a bunch of stuff on the desk, and he was like doing like this, waving his hand at him, and like all these hands are coming off screen, like grabbing things and taking them off the desk, and I'm like, fuck that guy. Like I fucking hate that guy. I've never met him. I'll never meet him. I'll never speak to him. But just seeing that, I fucking hate that guy.
He seems like a real fucking asshole.
Like you couldn't move a pin tray, and it was like of course it was on Twitter, and people were like, well, he's the King of England. It's respect. It's be able to pin.
The fuck you.
So why are you eating this asshole's dick?
Yeah.
It's fuck him.
Yeah. Fuck him. He will rot in the ground just like I will.
He'll have worms crawling in and out of his asshole just like me, just like you. He'll be a fucking gross brown stain inside of whatever coffin they put him in.
Exactly.
Like everyone else.
Just like everyone else.
Just like everyone else. Move your own pin tray, you geriatric old fuck. I don't care that your wife died. Move your shit. Before we get too carried away, we need to talk about Super Cringe Thursday.
Oh boy. Yeah, sorry that was we were a week late on that one, so.
Yeah, sorry about that. We had a good run there for a while. I don't know how many back-to-back episodes we put out, but it was a couple weeks.
Couple of them.
It was like 6, 7 episodes.
Yeah,
something like that.
Quite a few.
It's quite a
About
few.
2 months in a row we did without having to take a break.
So my bad. Sorry everyone. I
all
ruined
good.
that. But we had a very special Super Cringe Thursday because this one was just so many individuals involved. Chef's kiss. Was it Louis C.K. who was like, where did this come from? He's like, I think what that is a guy cooked something so good that he kissed his own asshole and it exploded. Oh man, but yeah. So for anybody that missed it, our Super Cringe Thursday pick for this week was it's McDonald's time.
It's Morbid time.
It's Morbid time. I guess this is McDonald's 2022 Store of the Year. Whoever it happened to be was these individuals, and Did you look at the comments or like the description of that video at all?
I didn't look at the description. I read some of the comments though.
So in the description, the description says, "McDonald's made us do this. This is what we made." So I guess they won Store of the Year, and so McDonald's corporate was like, make a video or do something, and that was what they came up with.
Ew.
So the dude that posted it, he doesn't stand by it at all. Yeah. Like if you read the comments, he was like people were calling it cringe, and he was like, "Suck my dick." He didn't say that verbatim, but it was of that energy. But so the video itself is a bunch of McDonald's employees, and they've like choreographed this like music video.
It's like
what was the song they were parodying? I can't remember. I've heard that song. I know what song that is that they're parodying, but it's some pop song.
And I was so
just appalled. It was hard to watch.
It was
that
very
whole
hard
thing.
to watch.
It was very difficult to watch that thing. So they've got like the karaoke version of like some pop song. Yeah. It's something time, and they made their own version called "It's McDonald's Time." Now, the thing that really irritated me about this song is that the person who is singing can't decide how far away from the mic she wants to be. Like, she'll be like right here, like up in the mic, and then she's like all the way back here, and then she's like, "I'm dropping fries tonight. I'm dropping fries tonight." And I'm like trying to focus on the cringe aspect of the video.
Yeah.
And I've got this woman just like
there's layers to this.
Just like zipping back and forth in my ears.
There's layers to this cringe video.
I'm watching this thing and I can just see it on everyone's face. Like nobody
wants to.
Nobody wants to be doing this.
No.
Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah. Did they sing anything about cleaning that fucking ice cream machine?
They didn't. They left that out. I think McDonald's probably told them.
Yeah.
They're contractually
don't mention the ice cream.
They're contractually obligated not to sing about that fucking ice cream machine.
Didn't somebody like do an experiment one time where they drove to like, it was like 100 McDonald's or something like that within some like radius, and every single one of them the ice cream machine was down?
It was something like that. There's like a conspiracy behind it. The McDonald's ice cream machine conspiracy.
Really?
Yes. I saw a video about it on YouTube a while back. I'll try to find it and link that on the podcast because it was actually really interesting. But yeah, so this McDonald's thing, it's just, if you haven't watched it, guys, you got to go watch it. It's honestly incredible. I don't know, like, there's a shot towards the end of the video where there's like 40 people like in the store.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And they're all like up against a wall, like jiving. And like, I was like, how many of these people were part of the like the brainstorming of what they came up with? Because I feel like that many minds could have come up with something a little better. Yeah. This video reminded me, it looked like something that Michael Scott would have put together. Right? Like, you know that episode of The Office where they do, him and Dwight are like doing the Scranton song, like Electric City or whatever it is. It's like it's on par with that.
It just, the whole thing reminded me of like mid-2000s MySpace.
Yeah.
Like, if you just stuck that on there, nobody'd know the difference.
No, it would have been lost in the sea of all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's you know, it looks like a high school group project.
It does.
Because it likely is. All those are probably high schoolers. Right. So it's very on brand. But my God, it's just the one kid that taps his fake watch right next to his real watch. What was that about?
You think he did that on purpose? He had to have done it on purpose.
I don't know.
He had to have done it on purpose.
His fucking Apple Watch is right here, and he taps over here. What was that? I don't know why I focused so hard on that. Maybe because it's a fucking thumbnail, too. Like, if you look at the link he posted, it's right there. I don't know. It's a particularly bad one. There's a lot of layers to it. It's one of those things that is just so purely cringy that you just got to go and watch it.
Right.
And you got to watch the whole thing. It's going to be hard. You're going to want to stop, but you got to watch it.
It's like a cringe parfait.
Yeah, like a 7-layer dip.
Yeah. A 7-layer cringe. Yeah, there was when I initially saw that. First off, I made it about 10 seconds in, and I stopped it because like the secondhand embarrassment was getting to me.
Yeah,
I was like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have to push through.
It's a lot of secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah, it's like I have to push through. So then I started it back up, and I got through it, and my initial thought was, what did I just watch?
Yeah. There's a part where they like, she says like, let's check the towels, and there's like a bucket of like towels. I guess they use to wipe things down. Yeah. She's got like a pH strip or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And she says something about the pH scale, like the girl singing. But like whatever bar of the song she's trying to cram all that information into, it just spills over. So it's like there's no rhythm to it. She's just speaking really fast, trying to get all that information out.
I guess if corporate made them do that, what did they think was going to happen?
Yeah, like what others... So if McDonald's corporate is making Store of the Year do these things, there's got to be more out there.
Right.
More of these things have got to exist.
Right. Because I would imagine McDonald's isn't the only one doing that.
No.
Right? I would assume like Wendy's has done something like that. I don't know. Wendy's is a little bit different because they make fun of people on the internet.
That's true.
So.
That's true. My
Burger King definitely would do that.
Burger King for sure would do that. My thing is like, you know, the fact that it was uploaded to like some dude's YouTube channel, you know, it doesn't make me think that they sent it up to McDonald's corporate, because like McDonald's corporate would have received it and watched it, and you know, McDonald's has people who professionally make commercials.
It would have fired everyone in that
store for being creatively bankrupt. I mean, here's the thing: this is 20 people who work at a McDonald's.
Right.
They were not meant to make a music video.
No, these are children.
These are children.
These are children like 2 40-year-olds.
Yeah. So why are you making them do this? Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel maybe that's like that extra layer of cringe. That like the top flaky layer is like they were forced to do this.
No.
So it's like watching like it's like a monkey change to a hurdy-gurdy. While we're talking about corporate entities, a lot of verified accounts on Twitter were doing some weird stuff last week.
Were they? I really don't get on Twitter that much.
Well, you remember the first one I sent you from Crazy Frog?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what happened. Somebody at some point tweeted something. I think it was CNN that started the whole thing.
No.
They tweeted breaking news with nothing following it.
Yeah.
Like no...
They had to have been hacked, right?
I don't know. I really don't think so. Because like the verified account was replying to people and like playing along with it.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, so I think CNN started the whole thing. They tweeted out breaking news, but they didn't have like anything following that, no link or anything like that. So people were like, well, what's the breaking news?
Yeah.
And then like, so other like corporate Twitter accounts started doing the same thing. They would just tweet like this one word or like a, you know, a single thought idea.
Yeah.
Like you'd have like a Starbucks, they just tweeted coffee.
Yeah.
And things like that. Well, Crazy Frog, I don't know if you all remember.
When's the last time you heard from Crazy Frog?
Yeah. You know, probably those Jamster commercials in 2008, whenever that was. You know, the little blue frog that rode the, he was being chased by the robots on their motorbike, and they had that Axel F song going on in the background. Yeah. So anybody our age is going to know what a Crazy Frog is. Crazy Frog's official Twitter account posted penis. With no further elaboration.
And it had like 65,000 likes.
A lot of likes. And like I scrolled past it and I was like, what? So I started looking at the comments and people were like, why did you post this? And they were just like, we're Crazy Frog. It's like,
that's not an answer.
That's not an answer. You're like a business. Like, what are you doing? And then later on in the week, Wingstop tweeted "fuck."
They had like 168,000 likes.
We're talking about a fast food chain, like a corporate entity, just swearing on the internet. I don't like know what stage of capitalism we're in, but it's fucking amazing. Whatever it is.
The only thing I can think is like we've reverted back to like 2004. Like 2004, like the way that people spoke on the internet.
Yeah.
Like I specifically remember, and I think we probably talked about this before, like the way that you used to like say something on Facebook. It would like show your name, and then you would say something. So it would say like Wes Wright is having a good day. Is having a good day, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Like I saw somebody repost something from like 2006, and they did the same thing. So I was like, so it wasn't just me. Yeah. It wasn't just me speaking that way.
Yeah, it was how everybody spoke.
How everybody did it. Yeah. So maybe we've gone all the way around, and now we're back to just like single thought.
Like these very like monosyllabic fucking posts. I don't know. It's like we're thinking about back what Facebook was when it was first a thing. It was like in the way people used it. No, I don't think we were never given any kind of direction. No. It was kind of all where it is now. I think it has a lot to do with like corporate influence.
Right.
But what Facebook was back in, 2004, whatever it was back then, was a lot different. It was a lot of like, people just kind of live posting their day.
Right.
How their day was going.
Well, not when, that would have been like 2006, 2007, right? And people didn't have phones then. So you'd have to go get on your laptop or go get on the computer and like post something on Facebook.
Yeah, I remember when they introduced Facebook Mobile.
Right.
This is going to sound insane to any younger listeners, but you would text your post to a number for Facebook Mobile.
Right.
And it would post that on your page for you.
Right.
Yeah, there wasn't like an app.
Right. And I specifically remember because Facebook was like the first person that came out with like a mobile app for like social media.
Yeah.
And I remember, Facebook hadn't grabbed that hadn't grabbed that sector.
Yeah.
Like MySpace was still like the top player at that point.
Yeah.
Like everybody was using MySpace because like your homepage, like you could adjust like the background, you have like layouts, and then you
could put like music players.
You have the music player in there, so you could like go get and like you could go to like a band's page
and like copy the code
and then stick it on yours. So then when people came to your page, it would play a song.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember
you have your top 10 friends.
Oh god, that was bad.
That was a big deal. That was a big fucking deal.
That was a big fucking deal.
Yeah, if you got knocked off of somebody's top 10.
It was not good. Not a good day.
Yeah. a lot of questioning, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. And then I remember when Facebook did that. And MySpace hadn't come out with one yet. And then they finally did, but it cost money. It cost $2 to download the MySpace app.
Really?
For your phone. Yes. Wow. So, and the Facebook app was free.
Do you think that's where most of the migration happens?
I think that's where the migration happened.
Wow.
A lot of people I don't think remember that is that the MySpace app cost money to download onto your phone.
See, I was wondering like when that exodus happened because it kind of seemed like it happened all at once.
No,
like, all of a sudden people were like suddenly not on MySpace anymore.
As soon as like Facebook went to mobile, that's when it happened. Because other than posting things for the podcast or whatever, I don't use a laptop or a computer to ever check Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm never on Facebook as far as like desktop's concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, me either. The only thing I use a computer for, outside of work, is editing the podcast and posting it. I'll do literally everything else on my phone.
Right.
Everything else happens on that fucking nightmare rectangle.
Yeah. Right.
And I just stare into the void and watch everything fall apart. What was the other one? The one with the two dogs. I want to say eczema. That's not right.
Zanga.
Zanga. Yeah. Zanga.
Now there was Zanga.
Eczema.
Zanga was like there was like Zyanga, which was Zanga, and there was like another Zanga, which was like X. It was like Xanga.
Was there?
Yeah, and so Zanga was before MySpace. And
I just remember there was something like with a silhouette of a Rottweiler.
Now, that's the one that you're thinking of. Like, they did like games and stuff. Like, you remember Farmville?
Oh, is that where that came from?
Yeah, I think Zanga was like Farmville.
Gotcha.
Right, but there was another Zanga, which is before MySpace, and it was... I think then it was sort of like a message board type deal. Like you had your own page or whatever, and you could like post stuff, but it wasn't really like the same as MySpace. And I remember people had Zanga pages when I was like in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And so like all the people whose parents didn't pay attention to what they were doing had Zanga pages.
Went insane and put a computer in their kid's room. The hell are you thinking?
No, they didn't know what it was at the time.
Yeah. Oh, he's just going to play Minesweeper.
Yeah.
No, he's talking to a child predator. That's
It's really odd. Like it's the time that we lived through, as far as like the internet's concerned, was like the wild, wild west.
Well, it was. We kind of were there from like from its inception to like what it is now.
Right.
It was like we witnessed and had a part of like that whole evolution.
Like, I remember when Mom and Dad first got a computer with the internet. And I remember them being like, you can go to whatever website you want to go to. And, like, at the time, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
like,
what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess I'll go to the wrestling website. I was like scrolling through. I was like, what? This is kind of cool, I guess.
Yep, that's wrestling. Did we ever tell the story of me going to Playboy.com on the podcast? So... I was a young man. I was probably... at the time...
I was...
Do you know how old you were?
15 at the time.
So I would have been 12 or 13.
Yeah, 12 or 13.
I was very curious about the female form. And I had heard tellings of this place called Playboy.com that has photos and images and things of bare breasts. And I said, hey, that sounds like something I'm interested in. So one day, Mom and Dad were out of the house. And I said, now's my time. And I go down there, and I typed in Playboy.com, like in the fucking address bar. And so back then, there was no such thing as, like, incognito mode.
Yeah.
And clearing your history was not an option.
Yeah.
Like, it logged whatever you did, and it was there. But I was willing to take that hit.
And I don't know what, like... You had, like, Ask Jeeves was, like, the search engine.
There was, like... I don't think Google was the thing yet. So
Lidos or whatever it was.
Yeah. So we had like dial-up internet, and so I go to Playboy.com, and the computer is trying desperately to load the page, and it's just like I'm like wiping sweat off my brow because I'm like, oh, any minute, Mom and Dad, like even if like where the computer room was, we could see the road, like if somebody was coming up to the house to like turn in. I was like, this computer is so slow that even if I see them, it's too late. Like, I won't have enough time to close out of this and pretend like everything's okay. So I was just like racing against the clock. I didn't know when Mom and Dad were going to be home. I don't know why they left. I was like, this is when I'm doing this. And so it's like loading from the top down, and there's like I could see like the top of like some ladies' heads. And I'm like, here we go, any second. And it's like these 5 women like all standing in a row. There's like 2 white ladies, like a black lady, Asian lady, whatever. It's very inclusive.
Yeah.
And it gets to about like their mid stomachs when I just can't handle it anymore. I'm looking at bare breasts for the first time. The first time in my life. And it is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Like, I thought, like, I saw the face of God. And I was like, well, I gotta keep this somehow. So I right-click and hit print. So the printer, like... even printers now are terrible, but back then it was like a printer was like a dragon waking up from a slumber. Like it was like, oh, the ghoul has summoned me. And it's like this long, drawn out, like it's like whirring and clicking and clanking. And I'm like, come on, you fucking piece of shit. Give me the tits. It's like before my parents get home. And so I'm freaking out because the printer's not turning, it's not going fast enough. And so I'm like, print. I hit print like a million times. And finally it prints out like a page. And it's just like, you know, like a screenshot of like the web page or whatever. And I'm holding this thing like it's in my hands. Like, look at that. And I'm like, here it is. And after about like 2 seconds of me just standing there, I hear the printer start whirring again. I'm like, oh no. And another page starts to come out. And in my mind, I'm like, I hit print like 500 times. I was like, there's no way it's going to get through all these pages before Mom and Dad gets home. And so I didn't know what to do. I took that second page and I just went over to the computer and I held down the power button, thinking that was going to fix everything. And so I didn't know what to do with the second page, so I gave it to Aaron, who was like a young boy.
Who was like 9 at the
time. So as the night goes on, I'm like upstairs and I'm like waiting because I know Mom's going to find out.
Yeah.
Mom is going to find out. And sure enough, she yells, "Boys, get in here now!" And she is pissed. And I was like, well, there's nothing else this could be. You had no idea that any of this had taken place. So, and Aaron, you know, I don't know if he really kind of understood what was going on, but Mom very quickly whittled it down to being me as the culprit. So she dismissed you and Aaron, and her and Dad interrogated me till 3 a.m. trying to get me to confess. And I held strong. I said, no, it wasn't me. I was on CartoonNetwork.com, and a pop-up happened, and I accidentally clicked on it, and every excuse I could think. So the way Mom found out, though, was she was trying to print off a math test. Because our mom is a math teacher. And she went to print off a test for her class, and the math test is not what came out of the printer. So after all that goes down, I think they were just so exhausted from trying to get me to admit that I did it that they didn't even really punish me for it. They were like, just go get whatever you printed and just bring it to us, and we're going to throw it away or whatever. And so I brought her the page, and Aaron goes, wait, I have one too. And I'm like, no, Aaron, no. He goes up in his room and he gets his fucking Raggedy Andy book that he hid it in, and he brings the whole fucking book down, just like. The corruption of innocence had to look that bad that he opened up the Raggedy Andy book and pulled out a picture of tits.
Oh, God.
But you know what? I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change anything that happened that night. Because I learned a lot of lessons about how computers work. Yeah. Oh my God, it was crazy. I think I ended up being grounded or something for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But that night I was like, they're gonna beat the shit out of me. I was like, I'm in so much fucking trouble. All because I wanted to see some tits. And I think that's another lesson too. There's no such thing as a free titty, ladies and gentlemen. It comes with a cost. Every single one of them.
You know, the thing I remember about that was that I was like upstairs playing like on the Dreamcast or something. I was like on the edge of the bed, like looking at the TV.
Yeah.
And I remember like you and Aaron came in there, and y'all are like, you like want to see something cool, and I just like looked over, I was like, yep, those are tits. And then you and Aaron ran off, and then like later that night, Mom and Dad were like, they thought it. First off, Jimmy was over the night before.
Yeah, because I tried to peg it on Jimmy. I tried to throw Jimmy under the bus.
And so I remember Mom saying the tits came out of the printer, and she initially was like, it was Wes and Jimmy.
Yeah.
Wes and Jimmy did this.
Yeah.
But I'd also got in trouble because there was like a junior beta website or whatever, and they had like chat boards in there.
Yeah.
And so we went in there and we were asking if there were any girls in there with flat pancake butts.
The junior beta Twitch for fucking beta club. And the kids with the highest GPAs, and you're in there asking about flat pancake butts. Oh, Lord.
Oh, good. Yeah, that was not a fun night.
Yeah, so we learned...
Because I remember Mom saying that. I was like, I know it looks like me and Jimmy probably did it, but we didn't do it, all right?
It's a bad look. I get that. It wasn't us.
Me and Jimmy were messing around with the computer all night last night, so I know what this looks like.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was using the internet back then was a lot different than what it is now. Like, kids can get away with a lot nowadays with, like, clearing history and incognito mode and all that stuff. But that wasn't the case back then.
Nope.
Whatever you did, it was logged. It was, like, carved into a fucking stone tablet.
Man, and I remember, too, back in the day, like, using the computer, like, it made me anxious to use the computer.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, I'm going to break this fucking thing. And there's no way I'm going to be able to fix it.
Because you could.
Because you could,
That's
exactly.
how computers were back then. They were very fragile.
Yeah.
Like, if you accidentally clicked on anything, you could fuck the whole thing up. I mean, they're basically foolproof now.
Right. It's like...
You'd have to go out of your way to fuck up a computer now.
Like, using Windows back then is like using Linux now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Linux, you can fuck Linux up pretty bad.
Pretty severely. Like,
unworkable. Like, that's how Windows used to be.
I think that's funny, too, because, like, I feel like a lot of old people kind of still think that's how computers are.
Right.
Because, they were like, 30s and 40s when home computers came out.
Right.
So they had lived a life without them. And then now they're like, oh, here's this new thing. I don't think they understand that it's a lot more user-friendly nowadays.
Right. Which, I mean, a lot of them use phones. I mean, and the phone is super user-friendly.
Yeah. Everything's like in squares.
Right.
Here's where your things are.
Right.
Yeah. You can talk to the thing. It'll talk back to you.
Right. And I remember when Windows 8 came out, and there was that big...
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal.
That was a problem.
Yeah, where they were trying to go to, like, the tile deal or whatever.
Yeah, because they wanted to be like...
the Mac OS.
Like the Mac, yeah. And people were like, well, the reason we buy Windows is because we don't want to buy Mac.
Right.
So why are you trying to make Windows Mac?
Right.
Like, Windows is its own thing. I think Windows 10 even has, like, an option. You can, like, switch back and forth between, like, if you happen to like that style, you can have that, or you can have the regular, like, bar at the bottom. And
And, well, they changed the UI so much. It's like Windows 11. There's a lot of, like, my laptop that I have now has Windows 11 in it, and there's a lot of things that are different in Windows 10 than there are in Windows 11. Yeah. Like, you can't right-click on the bar down at the bottom to bring up Task Manager. That's not an option anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird when they make choices like that to change, like, UIs and, like, they strip away functions?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Like,
especially something as, like, to bring up Task Manager.
Yeah.
Like, that's an important, like, I need that, right?
Yeah, I need that. Like, the start menu is different, too.
Yeah.
Like, when you try to search for things, like, it doesn't...
It searches Bing.
Well, yeah, I like, what the fuck? Like, it used to be, like, you could kind of filter down to the thing you're trying to find.
Right, it searched through your file structure. Even
File Explorer is different.
Yeah.
Like, what it used to be back, like, when, like, Windows was best when it was XP, I think.
Yeah.
That's when
that was Prime Windows.
That was Prime Windows. Like, ever since then, it's been, like, they've improved, like, performance, but I think user experience has suffered ever since then.
I agree.
Yeah. Vista was the worst.
Ugh.
Do you remember Vista?
No.
My God. That came after, what, 95?
No, Vista was after XP.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Windows 95, Windows 98, and then was XP.
Oh, okay.
And then after XP, it was Vista. Because XP was around for a long time.
It was for a very
long time. And
like almost a decade.
Yeah, it was around, like, that was what everybody used. And I know that even, like, some of the computers that we had in the military when I was in, like, when I left, I separated in 2017. And we still had computers that were using XP.
Wow.
Just because there's no reason to...
Well, a lot of their, probably a lot of, like, your platforms and things were built on that OS. And it would be an insane like retrofit to like bring everything up to like Windows 10.
Yeah. Well, and that was as far as like just like regular like user stuff on as far as like ownership's concerned. Like if you need to like send emails and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As far as like all of like the communications gear or like anything that had to do like weapon systems, that's all Linux based.
Really?
Mm-hmm. All of it's Linux based.
Wow. I have never used a Linux OS before, but from what I gather, it's a lot more like it's not quite as automated.
It's not, but you can do more stuff with it.
That's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, I've also heard like if you're using a Linux for like your personal computer, you're an insane person.
Yeah, there's no way I would ever use, like I've used Linux, like I've used some like you know what Raspberry Pis are?
Yeah.
Like I've used some of those and stuff with my old job that I have, and I created like a digital dashboard for our house and everything that I haven't put up, but I used a Raspberry Pi to do that. That's Linux based.
Yeah.
And so, but there's a lot of like neat stuff that you can do with Linux that there's no way you could ever do it with like a Windows, right?
Outside of having a program built to do that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I know that they use, a lot of times Raspberry Pis are used for like displays, like in stores and things like that. Like it's like this self-contained like thing that can display like all the information in the store, whatever they want on it. And even like on big things, because sometimes when they'll crash, it'll go to that kind of like home menu, and you're like, oh, would have never expected that to be a Raspberry Pi. But I remember when like that side of like computers, like I am not that what's the word I'm looking for? Literate.
Yeah.
To use those kinds of things.
Well, the nice thing too is because there's such a community for that now, is like I think it might have been Reddit where the Magic Mirror forum is where I built the dashboard that I have or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can get a Raspberry Pi for like $70.
Yeah.
Like Raspberry Pi version 3, I think, or something like that. So the barrier for entry is super low.
Yeah.
And then you can fuck around with it. And there's a bunch of different stuff you can do with it. Like I know that if you have your own like modem router, you can stick a Raspberry Pi in between it going out to the ISP and in between the modem router, and it'll filter out all of the advertisements.
Really?
So anything that you like, if I was on your internet or whatever, and I was using like an app or something, I would not see the ads at all. So it filters out all the ads.
That's crazy. I feel like I could probably,
but it's just it's stuff
learn
like
to do that. Like if I put in the effort to do it, but it just seems like computer programming and all that stuff just seems like so insurmountable to me.
It's really not. It's not that hard. I mean, if you were to learn like Python, essentially it's written like in an actual language. Like if you learn like the indentation and like all it is like do this, if this then that, if this then that. That's essentially just a series of if this then that statements.
Yeah. So that's all I remember from programming in college. And I think we used Java.
Oh, ugh. That's what I started out with was Java. It was awful.
So I haven't used enough of them to really have a favorite.
Yeah, I don't. Java was the very first one that I ever used, and that felt insurmountable when I first started. I was like, I have no fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I had no experience in programming anything.
Yeah.
It's like, and then like I did Python like later on. I was like, this is so much more simple. Why didn't we start with this?
Also, I was only going to the computer lab and not going to the lecture that I didn't know we had. Well, I think that's about all we've got time for today. So thank you again, everybody, for listening. I hope that you enjoyed. Sorry again for missing last week's episode. I think we should be good to have a couple back-to-back episodes here coming up, but I'm going to be gone the first week of November. So actually, I'll be gone the last weekend of October as well.
Okay, so the rest of September and then the first 3 weeks in October?
Yeah, I think we might miss 2 episodes at the end of October and the beginning of November, unless you can get together and kind of do like...
we'll see if we can do like a
put a
filler.
few in the pocket or something.
Yeah.
Also, we have a little special thing made up for
it's good.
Our October episodes. Are we going to do that for just one episode or just the month of October?
I think we should do it for the month of October.
For the month of October? Yeah. So that'll be fun. I think you guys are going to like that. We're gonna switch up the theme of the podcast a little bit for the month of October. And if that goes well, maybe we could do the same thing for December.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That'd be good.
Do you have anything you'd like to close with?
Nope. Just thank you for the continued support. I think I lost my train of thought there. What was I going to say? I'm going to make an attempt to try to be more active on social media with the Facebook.
I'll do the same thing. I know that's like the 9th time we've said that.
Yes.
But we're going to try.
I'm going to make an attempt, an honest attempt.
We're going to try to try.
I'm going to try. Because I would like for this thing to take off at some point.
I know our downloads are very consistently getting...
Yeah, they're getting up there.
Going up and up. So I don't know if there's any like new listeners to the podcast or anything, but if there are, hello and welcome. I hope you've been enjoying.
And I think maybe like if we were able to get like some like sound dampening stuff to put on here, maybe we could start doing, maybe recording some and then sticking on like YouTube or something like that. That might help with getting...
Yeah, I'd like to do some video stuff, but I don't want you people to see what it looks like in here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I found those sound dampening things. I have to buy them. So, and then we can stick those up, and then that'd be something we could do.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Also, one quick little thing I wanted to say. I had dinner with Chris and Maddie. Chris is a longtime listener of the podcast, and he was a guest star on episode 10, I think it was.
No.
And we were talking about the podcast, and I had mentioned if he had listened to the previous episode to this one where we talked about Scott Stapp. Yeah. And I said that, I was like, did you listen to the end after the outro music when I included the song? And he was like, I didn't know there was anything after the outro music. So, in case you don't know, several of our episodes have little Easter eggs after the outro music. Yep. Not all of them, but some of them.
Some of them do.
So, I can't tell you which ones they are. So, you might have to go look and I don't know how many.
And I didn't timestamp the Easter eggs either.
Yeah, so, and don't do that.
Yeah.
Because that won't make it an Easter egg. That will just make it part of the episode. But yeah, some of the past episodes have a little something or another in them. And it's not anything big or huge. You're like, I remember one time it was just a bunch of air horns. I think that was one of our remote episodes.
Yeah, my favorite one was Ben Shapiro doing WAP.
Oh, yeah. I think the episode 14 where we did the "Hey, I'm being thick here," where we got me and you locked into that like Italian accent for a while. I put in a blooper of us recording that intro at the end of that episode.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that. But so once again, thanks again for listening. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.